In this training video, I'm going to show you how to set up an Anycubic i3 Mega Ultrabase to ensure that the base of the bed is flat. Take a stiff ruler, like a metallic ruler, and lay it perpendicular across your Ultrabase to see if there's any gaps. Next, take a piece of paper and see whether you can insert the paper underneath between the ruler and the Ultrabase. Moving around the bed on all four sides to check to see whether there is any room between the paper and the bed. The third side, check to see if there's any gaps. Again, if you can't move a paper between the ruler and the base, then you know that the gap is less than 2 mm. Second thing, we're going to check the metal support plate to make sure that that is flat. First of all, unscrew each of the 4 brass screws on the corner of the Ultrabase. Make sure when you do this that you set your motors to the off position so you can move the plane of the base. Once you've unscrewed all 4, lift the Ultrabase bed off. Be careful to ensure that the cable is laid down flat. Now you can take your ruler and check to see whether the actual underlying metal support plate is flat as well. Again, you're looking to see if there's any gap or any bow between the support plate and the ruler. Using a piece of paper, we now start to see whether we can insert the paper underneath the gap between the supporting plate and our steel ruler. Moving around the base to check to see if there are any gaps. And third side. Again, if the paper is able to travel underneath, then you know that the gap is going to be larger than 2 mm. Lastly, the fourth side of our base. Next, we're going to do is check the smooth rod fix block on the printer. Using the ruler, we check the block. We want to make sure that the block itself is 90 degrees from the base. We're using a piece of paper here to check to see if there's any gaps. Again, the other end of the base sliders, making sure that the ruler is flat to the surface of the frame, and again it's butted up to the edge of the support truss rod holders. Next thing we're going to do is check the Y smooth rod. Do that by undoing each of the Allen keys screws on the base rod holders. You'll find that there are 2 screws for each end of the rod. Turning around, doing the third one. And lastly, the fourth one. Make sure you put your Allen key screws safe so you can screw them back in once you've completed this task. Next, you can now move the rods down through the holders. Like so. Laying them against the surface, we can check to see whether they're actually flat against the surface. We could also use the ruler. And also by rolling them, we can see if there's any bends in the rods as well. Taking the second rod, rolling it to see whether it's smooth, if there's any gaps between the rod and the table. It will inform us of any incorrections to the rod. Next we're going to check the X-Smooth rod. Using our Allen key, we unscrew the 4 Allen keys on the end of the truss rod holders. And there's a 5th and then a 6th one on the ends. Again, we do the same on the other end. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's one here as well, and one at the bottom. So we're going to unscrew those. You don't have to take them out fully, you just need to unscrew them to reduce the tension. Once we've unscrewed them, we can then move the truss rod out from the side, moving it through so it comes out the side of the printer. And we do the same for the top rod, moving it back through. Make sure as you undo, pass it through the main extruder head, not to let that fall. Now lay these rods on the table and check again to see if there's any gaps between the rods and the table, to see if there's any bends, any imperfections. And do the same with the second rod. This completes the process of setting up your Mega i3 Ultrabase 3D printer. It is true in terms of printing.